The Mothership Schnups June 11, 2018, Moan, 1901 and 29 seconds number 57,233,799. I have a question, so I know we have lots of threads here about UFOs and finding aliens and stuff, but how many people around here have actually saw one? With all the buffs here and the like, there's gotta be someone around here that actually came into contact with extraterrestrials, right? What was it like? Did they tell you anything? Did they ever try to find you again? Sorry if it looks like I'm being nosy, I just find this stuff really interesting. Punkert June 11, 2018, Moan, 1907 and 55 seconds number 57,233,876. Nothing wrong with being interested in this kind of stuff, bud, but I've had my fill of aliens for a lifetime. I can tell you my story with them, but I have to tell you in advance that it's not a tale of a peaceful exchange or gaining any sort of galactic knowledge. Also, it's going to take a bit to write. Some things in there are very personal and deal with stuff I'm not proud of. Schnups June 11, 2018, Moan, 1908 and 12 seconds number 57,233,899. Please tell me. Take as much time as you need. Punkert June 11, 2018, Moan, 2144 and 18 seconds number 57,234,089. Alright, so I would like to open up this post with a warning to our younger users on Parawatch: never drink or do drugs or do anything stupid before going on a late night joyride. Best case scenario, a cop pulls you over for a DUI. Bad case scenario, you or someone with you will get seriously injured or even die. Worst case scenario, you crash in the middle of nowhere and experience things no human will ever and should ever experience. Naturally, this story begins with me doing exactly what I told all of you not to do. My friends and I were out late at night, drunk out of our minds and hopped up on so much coke and weed that it's a miracle none of us overdosed. I figured it would be rad if we bailed on the party we were at and went Tokyo drifting on the winding rural roads. It wasn't rad. Core got totaled, we were scared out of our minds, panicking about how were we going to get home and explain the wreck, and to top it all off, I started floating. I would have assumed I was still high as a kite if my buddies weren't jumping in the air and trying to grab my legs. I tried to move, tried to resist, but I couldn't. I just kept on floating higher and higher. Was I dead and being carried up to heaven? Judging by the wreck, that wouldn't have been a completely far-fetched assumption. I looked up, reaching my arms out to the sky. A bright red light shined on me. I looked down to find that it was shining on my friends as well. They were starting to float too. They were afraid, screaming and crying, begging for whatever was happening to end. I looked back up and saw that a giant metal slab was the source of the light. It was still high up in the sky, but at that point none of us were anywhere close to the ground. The closer I got to the source, the harsher the light got. I struggled to keep my eyes open. I could also hear something mechanical, gears grinding against each other and what sounded like a motor running. I saw a silhouette of something almost human before finally blacking out. To this day I don't know if it was from the drugs or the overwhelming dread. I found myself extremely confused the next morning. All that and no hangover, no side effects or anything. That in itself was a large indicator that something was wrong, but I just thought something like, whoa, no hangover. Sweet. Besides, I had other worries. I asked my parents how I got home. They told me that I just stumbled home and they found my unconscious body propped against the front door. I asked about the wreck and my friends. They freaked out as good parents would and tried to call my friends' parents. They got them on the line, but they told us that my buddies never returned home and that they had filed a missing persons report. Understandably, everyone's freaked out and I asked my dad to drive me to where we crashed to see if we can find them that way. So we make our way out there and the cars still crashed, not a soul was around. There were only the crash and a Polaroid camera that my friend Sam left behind. It was crushed and non-operational, but I was able to find the last photo it took, posted here. I couldn't believe what was going on. I couldn't even think about it. I needed to calm myself down by convincing myself that it was all a bad dream. When I started to take some deep breaths, I noticed something odd with my body. It felt like it was just a shell with fluid slushing around my waist, like a water balloon that hasn't been filled up all the way. In my mind, that was the point where my calming belief was certain. The car ride home was quiet. Nobody felt like talking, for there was nothing that needed to be said, nothing that could be said, and nothing that was worth the trouble of saying. As soon as we got home, I didn't say a single word to my parents. All I could do was go back to my room, lay down, and wait to wake up. Hours passed and all I was able to do was lay motionless. My mom slid food under the door as I waited. Even though I had nothing to eat that day, I wasn't the least bit hungry. The very second I started to rest my eyes, I felt a jolt of pain somewhere I couldn't even sense. The pain forced my eyes open and harsh red lights were practically blinding me. Grinding, clanks, and mechanical humming were the only sounds I could hear, just like before. The room I found myself in was barren, with nothing but metallic walls with a wide variety of symbols and markings scratched all over them. I tried to look around, but something was holding my head firmly in place. I tried moving my arm, but I couldn't feel anything. I didn't even see my arm, even when I tried moving it more rapidly. Obviously something was very wrong and I started to panic. I futilely shook my head, trying to break free from my constraints. My breathing was heavy and fast. I tried everything I could to get out, and then I heard the voice of my friend Sam calling out my name. The voice disarmed me. All I could do was listen in stunned silence. He kept calling for me. His voice was strained, like he was losing it after speaking so much. I called out back, "Sam?" My call didn't register since he just kept on crying out my name. I asked him where we were, no answer besides saying my name. I asked him if he was okay, no answer. I asked him if he had any clue as to what was happening, no answer. He cried out my name one last time before I heard a loud thud from the distance, like something hit him. He didn't speak again. After the thud I heard footsteps. Something was moving towards me. I could hear it click and gurgle. I could see the same silhouette from before on the wall next to me. It looked far stranger and inhuman now that I could see it up close. The thing entered my room, for lack of a better word, and immediately started to hiss at me and make unintelligible noises. It wore a glass dome on its head and a silver baggy suit on its body. Inside the dome was a face covered in gray wrinkles. I could barely see its eyes and mouth. I struggled, but the thing grabbed my jaw and held me in place. I tried to swing my arms at it and felt nothing. It was then that the possibility sprang into my head: what if my head is the only part of me left? I tried to scream, but the creature's grip was too firm. It took out a needle and injected my forehead with something. Whatever it injected me with, it triggered the memory of the crash and subsequent abduction, but what I think is the thing's perspective. It was like a video that my mind played over and over. As that was happening, I was being injected with more needles. After each injection, I heard the voices of Sam and the other alternating between screaming, crying, and making the same noises these creatures make. I never felt so helpless in my entire life. I closed my eyes and that's when I woke up a second time. I found myself laying on a hospital bed, parents and doctor beside me. I panicked, but the doctor was able to calm me down. Apparently my mother found me unconscious and tried her hardest to wake me up, making them take me to the emergency room. The doctor did some tests and found that there was nothing wrong with my body. Everything was completely normal. My parents were relieved, but I had to suppress my confusion. I was discharged from the ER without incident. I reheated the meals my mother left by my door and forced myself to eat. I felt sick to my stomach, but I didn't need to cause them any more worry. All I needed to do was just try to live a normal life, no matter how unnormal I feel and act. Try to move on from what happened. Try to not lose myself over what I've done to my friends. Later that night I went to bed. I was instantly greeted by my otherworldly captors. I couldn't bring myself to make any sounds. It would be pointless. All I could do is react to whatever these things did to me. Needle injections, electroshock torture, parts of my skin removed. There was no point in trying to fight it, just as there was no point in trying to tune out the screams of my abducted friends. And so I wake up, force myself to eat, force myself to do whatever I needed to do that day, avoid falling asleep for as long as possible. I sleep, I wake up again in the spaceship, poked, tortured, and experimented on for as much as they desire. I faint, I wake up again on Earth. I sleep, I wake up again in the spaceship. I faint, humans. I sleep, aliens. That has been my reality for I don't even know how long. I just want it to stop. And considering my folks went missing a week ago, I don't think that'll be happening soon.